Hey guys, this is Hellfire RPGs and welcome back to my Breath of Fire binge where I'm playing through and creating loads of videos for all the games in the series. I've just finished up with Breath of Fire 3, so now it's time for some facts. This video is going to look at all of the things you probably didn't know about Breath of Fire 3. Let me know which facts you found the most interesting or if I missed anything good. Let's get into it. The Breath of Fire series have been including character cameos since Breath of Fire 1. This time around, Chun-Li from Street Fighter makes yet another appearance alongside Sakura. However, if you're not specifically looking for them, they're pretty easy to miss. Take a look in the Ganmel Arena crowd prior to the fight against Scar. Did anyone actually notice them there? Something a little more obvious is the cameos of Breath of Fire 2 characters Bo and Stan. They can be seen arguing with each other in Ganmel. Everyone knows about Doraemon, the super popular cat character from the Japanese manga series. In perhaps the most awesomely creative cameo ever, Doraemon's face can be seen during one of Ryu's dragon transformations. I completely missed this one, did anyone pick it out? We've just had a look at cameos from other characters within Breath of Fire 3, but what about Breath of Fire 3 characters making cameos in other games? This one is awesome. Ray makes an appearance in Hawkeye's ending in Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. He is one of the 5 Capcom members of his new formation of the West Coast Avengers. Go Ray! Now here's a few facts about Valeo and Sunder. These characters get their names from the Greek mythological horses Belius and Xanthus. Both were the sons of Zeus and the steeds of Achilles. And while we're talking about mythology, let's talk about this myth. The first battle against Valeo and Sunder is rumoured to be winnable, even if it has never been documented or recorded. The truth is, it isn't possible. The rumour itself was most likely started due to a misprint in the Primer walkthrough guide, where it stated, "You can beat Valeo and Sunder, although you must have extremely high levels to do so. Whether you win or lose, the outcome is the same, but winning will net you a broadsword and asbestos armor." The problem is that the picture shown was from the initial battle at Cedar Woods instead of the Windier dungeon. Now let's take a look at the boss Stallion. It bears a red and silver colour scheme similar to Ultraman. One of Stallion's moves is Utmost Attack. This beam-like attack resembles Ultraman's Specimen Ray. Finally, the two characters also form an L with their arms when they attack. For some reason, Stallion's colour scheme was altered to blue and brown in the PSP release. Breath of Fire tends to be creative with their character names, and this is most evident when looking at each character name in Japanese. Due to the 6 character limit for character names, Gar's full Japanese name Garland couldn't be used in the English versions of the game. Garland means Land of the Spear in Old English, which is of course very appropriate for him. Pekaros was the original name for Pico, which makes a lot of sense as a Pekaros is a type of small onion. The feline chef Hachio's Japanese name is Haochi, meaning tasty or delicious, which fits with his occupation as a chef. Every single Japanese name for the characters of Rapala also reference fishing. Bait in Japanese is bait. Shadis is shad, which is a type of fish. Sinkara was sinker, which is used for fishing. Zig was jog, which is a type of fishing lure. Master Gyotto was Gyodo, which is named after a Japanese company that makes fishing lures. Then there's Caddis, Mayfly and Alcar, which are also fly fishing lures. And finally, one that was completely lost in translation was Iggy, who was Sunkichi, named after a Japanese fishing company. But the fun doesn't stop here. Bono is the name for Jono, and this is a reference to the lead singer of U2, who were at the peak of their Japanese popularity at the time. Then there's Momo's father Repsol, who was a scientist and engineer, so it makes sense that Repsol is actually a global energy company. And finally, we have Banyan, who is named after the legendary Paul Bunyan, who was a giant lumberjack in American folklore. Many of the NPCs scattered throughout the world have an interesting story behind their names. In Japan, prior to the Breath of Fire 3 release, Capcom held a naming contest where participants would provide names for several items to be featured in the game. The winners also appeared as minor characters, usually near the items that they created names for. Here are some of the contest winners. First we have Kimiko, the wife of E. Carl. Other winners were Miyuki and Likov, who ended up taking the names of their baby and cat respectively. Something interesting to note here is that the winner Kinoshita Ryu, who stood next to the cook in Windia, has had his name removed for the English version. This probably had something to do with his name sounding like the main character Ryu. Remember that badass Aussie dolphin that terrorized the inhabitants of Fairy Village? In the Japanese version, this dolphin spoke with a Kansai accent, but this was swapped to an Australian accent in the English version. The reason for this is because the Kansai accent wouldn't have made much sense to Western audiences, so they changed it to an Aussie accent, because why the hell not, mate? For the record, I found it pretty funny that the game offered a translation for players who don't speak Australian. Let me know, did you have any idea what the dolphin was talking about? Now let's take a look at the content that was cut from Breath of Fire 3 but is still located on the game's disc. There was actually a surprising amount of dialogue scenes that were cut. There's way too much to go through here, but if you're interested, I'll leave the link in the description. In addition to these scenes, there are 4 unused musical tracks on the game disc, and one of them is playing right now. And here we have a single unused item which goes by the name of the Mochi. Yes, it was even presented in full capitals. Its description states that it cures petrification, however this status ailment has never made an appearance in the series. It's likely that this status was planned for Breath of Fire 3 but later scrapped, which makes the Mochi item useless. There's also a load of location data on the game's disc for areas that can't be accessed through playing the game normally. Here are a few interesting ones. The area behind Mayor McNeil's bedroom is interesting. Your party only ever witnesses a scene here, meaning that you're unable to walk around. But if you do this through hacking, you'll notice a room with a bunch of large safes. These graphics are not used anywhere else in the game, but even more interesting is that they actually contain items such as 1000 Zenny and power food. The shops in Rapala are also quite strange. Just like the other shops in the game, their shelves are inaccessible, but these ones actually contain 3 items when interacted with. The same can be said about the inaccessible robots in Combinat. They actually have dialogue linked to them when spoken to through hacking. And have you ever wondered what's beyond the Duana Hills checkpoint? Well, now you know. If you were expecting anything at all here, then you'll be disappointed. And that's all for today. Hopefully you learned something new. Let me know which facts you liked the most or if I missed anything interesting. This was Hellfire RPGs, thanks for watching. My binge is still going strong, so stay tuned for more Breath of Fire content coming soon. See you next time.